I won't go any further.
I'm terrible at this game because I don't know.
That's Cryin by Aerosmith. It starts off with that don't.
I hear it now.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. Aerosmith, I was against them for a long time.
Really?
I swore, some years ago, I don't know why, but I just kind of said I'm done with them. I don't want to hear them anymore. I gotta not like something a lot. You know, you have a plethora of thing. You know, you can't just like everything. Everybody who says, "Oh, I like all kinds of music," bullshit. Okay, you don't.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I just picked them and just said, I'm done with them. I don't know what it was that rubbed me the wrong way about them. But then I came back to them. They write some from a songwriting standpoint. Some of those things are just great rock songs, man.
Better than Led Zeppelin.
Is that what you said? What you think?
No.
Cryin
by Aerosmith.
by Aerosmith.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Great Measures. My name is Richard. This is Judson.
Great Measures.
So I don't know if you know it or not. Sleep Token released a new song.
Good for them.
It came out on March 13th. Today's the 23rd, 24th, whatever today is. And in those 10 or 11 days, it's gotten over 3 million views on YouTube. The song is called Emergence. It's from an upcoming album they announced will be released May the 9th called Even in Acadia.
Okay.
And we're going to listen to it today.
Okay.
Emergence.
Emergence.
Well, we'll talk about it.
All right.
The end of the song is interesting. This is Emergence by Sleep Token. Ready to roll?
Yeah. Proceed, Richard.
Well, you were late in bus, living on a promised word. Well, I am the rose you relinquished again. You and I are down head first in another world I had. But I have a feeling we're close to the end. Sapphire and my white gold burst out of my chest and hide out in the vents. My blood beats so alive, my bite right through your lens. It's midnight in my mind's eye, drowning out the daylight. Godspeed to my enemies, I'll be asking for that call sign. You know the behavior, canines of the savior. Glory to the legion, trauma for the neighbors.
Around me, yeah, go ahead and wrap your arms around me.
floods, space dust for your fuel rods, dark days for your solstice, dancing through the depths of hellfire on the winds that started from within. My blood beats so alive, might tear right through my skin. So tell me what you meant by living past your half-life, and lockstep with the universe and your well-versed in the afterlife. You know that I'm sanctified by what's below, no matter what you do, no matter where you go. You might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet. And nothing else is quite the same as how I feel when I'm at your side. Come on, out from underneath who you were. Come on now. You know that it's time to arms around me, arms around me.
What do you think about it? You like it? They like these kinds of chords.
When you say these kinds of chords, what do you mean?
Just these sevens and stuff. These suspended chords. G suspended 2. Some jazzy stuff in there.
Okay.
So, you were going to say something?
Yeah, man. Sleep Token is that band that everybody loves to hate on. I mean, they have a massive following and a lot of really, really devout and loyal fans, and for good reason. They just do things a little bit differently and differently enough, but the formula that they have is so successful for a reason. And I'm probably going to get on a soapbox here, but just bear with me.
I'll do my best.
So this is probably not the musician's way of looking at this, and I'm not by any means a professional musician or anything like that. But from a fan's perspective, from my perspective as a fan, if what you did last, if your last release worked and people loved it, don't change it too much. One of my biggest pet peeves, and there's so many instances of this happening over the last 25 years, 20 years of me listening to music as a fan. Bands can have an album that puts them on the map, and everybody loves it, and then they completely change whatever they did on the last album, and they do something completely different on the next one. And in my opinion, especially, and I'm talking specifically, I mean, it happens across all spectrums and genres, but like I've said it on here till I'm blue in the face, like that 2000s, early to mid 2000s metalcore scene is one of my favorite scenes of all time, my favorite eras of music of all time. And there were so many bands that had these albums come out. And I'm not, as a fan, I'm not asking you to do I don't want you to play the same songs. But don't, in my opinion, they're selling out. You know what I mean? They got a little bit of notoriety from this one album. The next one they're going to come out with is going to be way more radio friendly, cookie cutter, and it happens. So with Sleep Token, I had this expectation. Their last album, Take Me Back to Eden, I believe. Yeah, I don't, for whatever reason I'm blank, but was such a massive success, and I had this fearful expectation because they kept hinting and teasing something new was coming, and I had this, like I said, a fearful expectation that they were, because they're as creative as they are and because they're as different as they are, they were going to just completely switch it up and do something completely different. But they didn't. And I had set myself up for disappointment. And I'm not the world's biggest Sleep Token fan by any means, but I really liked what they did on their last album. Mm-hmm. And I had this, please God, don't change it up idea in my head. Like I just knew that was what they were going to do. And they didn't. They stuck with their formula because they freaking know that it works.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think that if you're not able to say that 2000s metalcore was a great era of music that you liked, it appealed to you, you would not be able to say that if they hadn't done a particular thing then and then changed it. That era would still be going on. There wouldn't be eras of things if there wasn't some kind of change that happened.
Sure.
So, and even like artists will, artists have, like Picasso has a blue period, and then there's artists go through their late period, their middle period, and their, and it changes. Mm-hmm. They choose a different style that they're going to paint in, and that all comes to preference. But screw that for now. A band like Ween, for instance, will do a salsa album, and then they'll do a big rockin' album, and then they'll do like a thing with the Caribbean, the steel drums, but they are from album to album to album, and that's sort of become their thing. Mm-hmm. And so they will span all these genres of music, and they did a whole country western album. It's just, so I think they're sort of thumbing their nose at the idea of what you're talking about. When you get to be a band that starts to get more notoriety, and then you have more resources to you have those things to your disposal, you use them. So I think when the idea of more selling out or having more production happens, people sort of thumb their nose at that kind of thing, or they become a little more radio friendly. I mean, that's a natural push, right? A lot of people are listening to you. We want more people to listen to you. So I like the idea of, but I'm with you. I would rather, if I like something, then I want to hear more of it. But then I've come to realize as a musician that being in the mind of a musician trying to put out music at times, you evolve and you want to do something different. You know, you get tired of that stuff. When you sit in a studio and you record a song and it takes you forever to do it, you end up hating that song. You end up never wanting to hear that song ever again. It's great there for a while when it first happens and you're in the studio and you're mixing and whatever. But then by the end of it, you're just kind of like, I'm over it. I'm over that. So you want to naturally go a different direction. And then they're also listening to music. Music is evolving somewhat. It's going through cycles. So then you can't help, if you're creative, to let some of those things seep in. Mm-hmm. So I only disagree with you in the sense of if you're just staying in one lane and you're just offering the same stuff, you know, it can get stale to the musician. So sometimes they just can't help it. Mm-hmm. Sleep Token has this, and I don't care. This is just how it is, I think, because I'm a fan of a band in Fish that has a very a particular crowd, right? And they know that they are, and they're like this to everybody else, you know?
Like Tool fans.
Yeah, don't come like our band. Mm-hmm. We want to just like our band. And Sleep Token sort of has that, you know? People only get Sleep Token. And sometimes there's an allure and a draw to a band because of that aspect. Because I can like this band, and other people don't get it. I want to be one of the ones to get it. So if a band can develop that, and I think that Sleep Token has developed that in their sound, with their sound. They have a lot of elements of a lot of different genres in their music.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that just kind of hit me by listening to this, and I know this is part of their shtick, so I'm aware of it, but if you listen to Christian praise music, you would not be able to tell the difference between some sections of Sleep Token songs and Christian praise music. It's worship music.
Yeah, I mean, I think I may be misremembering this, but you know, when the drummer, did that interview on Drumeo, I want to say that was his main influences in his drumming, was like gospel drumming.
Well, I mean, I
know gospel and praise are different things.
They are, but I mean, the praise, the whole praise, when he's, you know, he has a very churchy voice.
Yeah.
And you're doing the sections that are soft. It sounds like people could lift their hands and sing with
and
them.
I think that, you know, the whole concept of sleep and the deity of sleep.
Sure.
Like, I think it's praise music to sleep.
Sure, and I get that.
Which is cool.
And I think that's a good. I mean, that's cool. That allows people to come in. And I like that Sleep Token uses these hip hop sound, you know, these drum, programmed drum type stuff, and the bass. I like that. But then in the little breaks where they'd have somebody go wah, wah, and then they go into the next part, you know, you're. But there, I sort of laugh at that. But I feel like that's appealing. You know, they're taking a lot of different genres and putting them together. I think that's why they're appealing, and why maybe they're able to make subtle changes from album to album, and you're still getting what you like from the album previous. Because they have already put this amalgam of stuff together, whether it be, you need that?
No.
Whether it be genre specific or just how they're doing their songs. So the one critical element I have of this song, and sometimes of Sleep Token, is they play a quiet part, and then they bring in some heavy stuff, and it's too short. They cut it off too short, and then we're
Heavy stuff doesn't last long.
Yeah. You could make
that would be my only knock.
You could make 3 or 4 songs out of. You know, he could play the piano for an entire song with the saxophone playing in the background, which everybody knows. If you don't, Richard loves the saxophone. He's a sucker for a saxophone.
Sucker for us. Shout out to Gabby Rose. She's playing on this.
Yeah.
She's got some cool content over on Instagram.
And cool. Gabby Rose. So you could do a whole song with just the saxophone and the piano and him singing this, and it'd be good. And then you could do a whole song with just with the hip hop sounding thing where he's sort of speak singing over it, which that's not something I've heard from them a whole lot. It's a different aspect to his voice. It sounds really cool. But then my favorite part of the song was when the guitars come in, not the major chorus section at the end, which is cool. But when they're mimicking how he sings his melody, that down,
I wanted it to go for hours.
Dude.
Yes.
They dropped that, and I was like, you could have done that, had another sound coming in. You could have, I would have been raging by the end of that thing.
I agree with you, because that was my only, and I won't even classify it as a disappointment, but that was my only disappointment, letdown of this song, that I was like, God, they could have played that for 35 minutes, and it would not have gotten old.
Never, and that's my only, and I wonder, is this something that's happening in the psyche of listeners nowadays, maybe younger listeners, where they're only able,
the attention span
is so small,
it's dead,
so that maybe the artistic output from every medium is having to conform to ADHD.
It's very possible. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That's my only problem.
Because I tried to put myself in their shoes and go, you just absolutely nailed this riff that mimics this voice and this melody, and it's incredibly beautiful for distorted sounds.
No, it's great. It was great.
Amazing. And I was like, do it 10 more times.
Yeah.
You know, like,
which wouldn't take that long to do. That's my favorite part of the song, because the drummer is,
he's incredible.
Hands down the MVP almost of every single song is Sleep Token.
Yeah.
You got to have good drums, you got to have good bass, but the drummer is the guy, he keeps your time. He is the keeper of your time. And you're spending time doing it, you're spending his time. So he's going nuts, and then, I mean, you could have dug in somewhere else, brought in a synth. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you how to write a song, Sleep Token. You obviously know what you're doing, but there's not really a chord. They're not really relying on a chord in that. They're just a riff.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts and it stops. So I have trouble with reconciling the song as a whole and saying what is the identity of this song? You know, Sleep Token gives you a lot to chew on in one song, and that's awesome. And I'm not trying to be critical of it. I'm just saying I wonder why. Because I'm imagining seeing this song live, and when you're playing live, you want to grab a hold of the person, the attendee, and you want to take them on a ride. And it just, you hear some things, or at least I've been to shows and stuff where people are slamming, and then they drop off and they play a slow song, sometimes too late in the set, and everybody's like, oh, this is a letdown. You had me up here. Or that's why you don't hear Rage Against the Machine playing slow songs. They start off, they have you going nuts, and they keep you there to the end. Yeah. And these drop-offs, it's kind of, if you're seeing it's a spectacle, I would imagine, but if you're trying to get movement of the crowd as one unit, how do you keep that going when you're cutting them off all the time? Right. They're just standing there watching rather than being in trance. I mean, that's just how I see heavier music being. Is that you keep them going, you keep them in the flow. You set the pace, and then they go along with you. So it just seems a little bit to me as a listener, I would want to hear, take that part longer. This song, maybe just extend every single part a little longer, or at least the heavier parts. I was waiting on, I knew they were going to drop into the thing because that's their formula. And I like not knowing which part it's going to be. You know, if it's going to be that heavier bass thing or if they're going to be heavy with guitars, but you know it's coming. And I wonder if when you do that so often, you're losing the allure of that now. That I know that it's coming in a minute. Now I sit around and I wait on their slower parts. How long is this slow part going to go on before they finally drop into something heavy? And then when they do, they end it in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you had me, and then you dropped me. I mean, it's definitely I really like the different moods that they go through. How long is the song?
6 minutes-ish.
And they can make a song that's 6 minutes long seem a lot shorter because you're changing those directions so much. They're giving you something to chew on. I like that. I like that they give you a lot more to chew on. And they sort of keep you on your toes, but if I'm constantly on my toes, I'm never able to just release to the music and get caught up in it and just, go at it. That's why I like improvisational music so much, because they start a jam and then they go. You may get tired of it at some point, but if you're in it the whole time, it's like black metal. Black metal does that, where they go, and you're in it. You're galloping along with them, and that's kind of what you want to do, right? You want to be overtaken by the music. And I mean, if I knew the song really well, I'd know when the changes were going to happen. But it's just almost too up and down, Where and my understanding of being a musician and then a listener too is I want you to take me on get a hold of me to where I'm not there anymore. I'm caught up in it, and I can't be caught up in it when you come to a dead stop and you do this, and you come to a dead stop and you do this. It's just tough sometimes.
Fair enough.
But the song's banging. I wonder if that's just developing because of a younger attention span shortage. What do you think?
Possible. It's very possible. I liked it. Like I said, I was setting myself up with the expectation of being disappointed, and it was the exact opposite.
Yeah, I don't know I think Sleep Token has set themselves up to do the very thing that you were talking about when you started on your soapbox. Was they have so many different genre nods in a sense, or they've developed their own. They have 4 or 5 sections that they do, and they pick and choose and they put them together, right? And you never know which order they're going to come in. You never know which one they're going to hang on to longer. You never know which one they're going to cut off. But it's generally, the big guitars, the spacey, worshipy sounding stuff, the hip hoppy kind of lulling beat. You know what I mean? And then the heavier just.
Yeah, I mean it's hip hop, it's jazz, it's R&B, it's a little bit of soul, it's metal, it's.
So when you do
freaking saxophone at the end.
Yeah, so when you put all those together, you can't really take a huge turn on the next album. If you say, well, let's do this next album with a little, let's incorporate hip hop. Well, they've already got that.
Southern rock elements.
Put some Southern rock. Well, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
They've already incorporated so many elements. They've set themselves up to be able to do this formula and it be interesting for a little while. Gotcha. And I just don't. I mean, when the guitarist started mimicking the melody of what he was singing, I was like, we're going somewhere.
Yeah.
We're on our way. And then, boom, again. And then bring in the guitars again, but it's just so, I don't know how to explain. I mean, it doesn't, maybe it's just a preference thing and I would just have to get used to it, but I look at it more as a sense of provoking movement of the body, of the listener. and there's no thread that runs through the heavy bigness to the quiet stuff. The movement of the physical form has to stop, right?
Yeah.
You're not banging your head to the saxophone at the end. So when you're up and down like that, you're changing that.
Yeah.
You're changing the movement, the physical movement, and I think that's music is in a lot of ways meant to move you physically. I mean, Pantera has made a life out of that. Like it's supposed to bring. That's what I see a lot of heavier music as being, something that provokes the movement of the physical form. And Sleep Token is messing with that in the sense of making you quiet and bringing you up, and maybe they're doing that on purpose for a reason. I'd like to hear it, and I'm not downing it. I'm just saying that's obvious. You can't get away from that being a byproduct of moving your emotive soundscape that distinctly.
Right.
The lyrics just sound like a love song. Sounds like a love song to me.
Okay.
It's positive. It sounded positive. It sounded a lot more positive than other Sleep Token songs I've heard.
Right.
It really does.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe they've taken, I don't know. It seems a lot of times they're a little more on the.
Their relationship has reached an emergence.
Yeah, it's what it sounds like. It sounds like, or there's a new relationship that's emerging.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Anything else?
I don't know. You think we figured it all out?
I think we got it.
All right, cool.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We are Great Measures. My name is Richard. This is Judson. That was Emergence by Sleep Token
Great Measures.
from the upcoming album, Even in Acadia, set to be released on May the 9th.
I don't remember what you said.
May the 9th. My brain doesn't work sometimes. Anyways, check it out. Have a wonderful day, everybody.